Let's take a look at finding the area of a non-right triangle on a grid. What are some things we might be able to do here to figure out the area? Well, you could start by counting up the number of complete square units that you see, and then attempting to piece together any partial square units to get to an estimate. So that is a possibility. 1, 2, 3, 4. I only see 4 complete square units, and now I've got these partials that I'm going to try to piece together. So I have this piece here and this piece here. So I'm going to put those two to make 5. And then these two here to make 6. And then I have these two here. That would give me 7. And here would be 8. And then here would be 9. And here would be 10. So I think using this strategy, I'm going to estimate that I have approximately 10 square units for the area of this triangle. Okay? So I want us to now use a different strategy to check that work. What else could we do? A couple of other things that we could do. Well, did you know that if I grab a line here, and if I put a line right down the center of this triangle vertically, now what do you notice? I now notice that I have 2 right triangles. Okay, you see that? Okay. So now I could use the strategy of composing rectangles around my right triangles. So I want to go ahead and do that. So I have a rectangle here around this right triangle, and I can compose another one. All right, so now if we take a look at, let me do this. I'm going to create a text box here just so I can kind of cover some things up. We'll look at one thing at a time. Let me fill this up. Okay, so let's take a look at just this triangle right here. Okay, so we have a right triangle here. We have composed a rectangle around that right triangle. Okay, is everybody okay with that? Now, how do we find area of the rectangle? Well, you could count the square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You could count how many square units there are in a row and multiply by the number of rows. So 2 times 5 is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So there are 10 square units in this rectangle. Now, what do you notice about the area of this triangle? Well, this triangle is half the rectangle. This rectangle is composed of 2 congruent triangles. So if the area of the rectangle is 10, half of that is 5. Go ahead and write that in here, of 5 square units. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove this now. So the area of this right triangle is 5 square units. Now, what do you notice about these 2 right triangles? Well, they both have a base of 2 and a height of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are congruent right triangles, which means that if this triangle has an area of 5 square units, this one does as well. So we have 2 right triangles with an area of 5 square units. Now, how are we going to find the area of this non-right triangle? What are we going to do? Well, we're going to add those up. So we're going to add 5 square units plus 5 square units. So the area of this triangle is 10 units squared. Now that's the same thing we got when we were estimating, so we did a pretty good job estimating earlier. Let's take a look at another strategy we could use to find area of this triangle. All right, I'm just going to look at this as a non-right triangle, and I want to compose a rectangle around the entire triangle. All right, let's see if we can find the area of this rectangle. Well, how do we find area of the rectangle again? Remember, we can count all of the square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Or to be more efficient, we could count the number of square units in a row and multiply that by the number of rows. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 square units in a row, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now, notice, and I want to draw a little line here so you can see this. If I were to add this line right here, splitting this non-right triangle into 2 right triangles, what do you notice about all 4 triangles that we can see now? They're all the same size, right? So this rectangle has an area of 20, and half of that is taken up by this triangle here. So let me see if I can create a triangle to kind of show you what I mean here. Create a right triangle to fill one of these. And we're going to look at some things here. All right, so I have filled half of my non-right triangle. All right, I want to rotate this and show you something. Look at that. You notice we have the same sized triangle. Those 2 triangles are congruent right there, okay? Now, let's go ahead and we're going to flip this vertically. I'm going to slide it over here. And you'll notice it fills this space as well. That's also congruent. And then we're going to rotate it here. And notice that all 4 of these triangles are congruent triangles. So how many of those right triangles does it take to make up this non-right triangle? Well, it takes 2 of them, right? So if we have 2 of them, let me see if I can just duplicate this here. So if it takes 2 of these right triangles to fill the non-right triangle, and we have 2 others that are congruent, we have 2 out of 4, which is half. So the area of this triangle is half the area of the rectangle. And the area of the rectangle was 20 square units. So let's write that down. And half of that, half of 20, is 10. So the area of this non-right triangle is 10 square units.